Hi guys, today we're going to make some sourdough cinnamon buns, and as always, the ingredients and the instructions will be listed below in the description. So let's get started. For this recipe, you can either use a stand mixer or your hands. It would obviously be easier to use a stand mixer, but I'm going to do it the hard way and use my hands. But in this video, I'll explain how to do both methods for this recipe. In a bowl or in a bowl of a stand mixer, we're going to start by adding all of our ingredients except the butter and the flour. Now if you're using a stand mixer, you're going to go ahead and turn the speed onto low and begin mixing. You'll slowly add the flour, and then you'll just want to mix it until there's no dry bits of flour left. Once it's mixed and there's no dry bits of flour left, you'll turn the mixer off and you're going to cover the bowl and then let it sit for 30 minutes. Now if you're making this by hand, we're going to go ahead and mix this up a little bit before we start adding the flour. Then we'll start gradually adding the flour and just continue to mix until there's no dry bits of flour left. Once we've done that, same thing, we'll just cover the bowl and then let it set for 30 minutes. Your hands are always your best utensils. It's been about 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part. If you're using a stand mixer, you're going to go ahead and turn it on to a low speed and mix the dough for about 5 minutes. If you're making this recipe by hand, we're going to go ahead and flour our surface, turn our dough out onto our surface, and knead it by hand for 5 minutes. We're now going to begin adding our butter, so if you're using a stand mixer, you're going to continue to mix on a low speed for another 5 minutes, gradually adding the butter about a tablespoon at a time. And same thing if you're making this recipe by hand, we're going to add about 1 tablespoon at a time while we knead the dough for another 5 minutes. If you're making this by hand, whenever we add the butter to the dough, just kind of break it up a bit and spread it across the top of the dough before you start working it in by kneading. Now that we've added the butter within that 5 minutes, if you're using a stand mixer, go ahead and scrape down the sides of the bowl and continue mixing on the lowest speed for another 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, you'll know the dough is ready. If you're using a stand mixer, it should no longer be sticking to the sides of the bowl, and for both methods, it should be a smooth, elastic, shiny, cohesive mass. We're now going to transfer the dough to a clean, buttered bowl, and we'll go ahead and form the dough into a ball using the coil fold method. And then I'll just go ahead and tuck the sides under. We're now going to cover the bowl again and let the dough rest for an hour. It's been an hour, so we're going to go ahead and perform another set of coil folds, and then we'll go ahead and cover it again and then let it rest for another hour. It's been an hour, so we're going to go ahead and perform another set of the coil folds, and then we'll cover the dough again and let it rest for an hour and a half. Now that it's been an hour and a half, I'm going to go ahead and take this towel off the top of the bowl, run a little bit of water over it just to make it a little bit damp, and place it back over the bowl. Then we'll place the dough in the fridge overnight or for about 12 hours for the cold fermentation. If you're worried about the surface of your dough drying out during the bulk fermentation, which would be the coil folds that we just performed, you can go ahead and make your towel damp then too as well. Now I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hi guys, it's the next day and we're going to begin by making our filling. To a bowl, we're just going to add all of our ingredients and mix them up until they're thoroughly combined. Here we have our mixture completely mixed up. It should smell so good. And we're just going to go ahead and set this aside. We're now going to remove our dough from the fridge and we'll go ahead and dust our surface with some flour and turn our dough out onto our surface. We'll then just dust the top of the dough with a bit of flour. When we turn the dough out, we want to place the top of the dough on our surface. We're now going to start rolling out our dough. We want to roll it into a 20-inch by 16-inch rectangle or a 50 centimeter by 40 centimeter rectangle. We're now going to begin spreading our filling onto the dough, but we're only going to spread it on 2/3 of the dough. We're now going to fold the clean 1/3 of the dough over the center, and then we'll fold the other 1/3 on the outside over that third, creating a flat log. We're now going to cut our log of dough into 14 pieces, and for presentation or aesthetic purposes, you can discard the end pieces. But we don't waste over here, so I'm not going to discard them. And your pieces should look like this. Now for each of these pieces, we're going to cut 3 ribbons into each, leaving about a 1/2 inch still intact at the end. You can see here I have my 3 ribbons with about a 1/2 inch still intact, like I said, and we'll just begin braiding these. And after you've braided it, it should look something like this. We're now just going to do that to all of our pieces. Now that we have all of our dough shaped, we're going to go ahead and place it in our muffin tin that's been greased with butter. To place them into the muffin tin, we're simply just going to fold them over and place them seam side down into the muffin tin. So I'm simply just going to fold it into almost like a circle, and then we'll just place it inside the muffin tin. Now let's go ahead and do that with all of our cinnamon buns. And here we have all of our cinnamon buns in the muffin tin. Now we're just going to cover them with a towel or cling wrap and allow them to proof for about 2.5 hours. Okay guys, it's been 2.5 hours and I went ahead and preheated my oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit or 245 degrees Celsius. We're going to go ahead and make the egg wash that goes on top of the cinnamon buns. I already have my maple syrup in the jar, so we'll go ahead and add the egg and just mix it up. And I need to get a pastry brush, so I don't have one right now, so I'm just going to be using a spoon but it's best if you do use a pastry brush. Also, once your cinnamon buns have finished proofing, they should be soft and light to the touch. Now that we got the egg wash on, we're going to go ahead and wait for our preheated oven to reach the preheated temperature, and then we'll pop them in the oven and immediately reduce the heat to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius. We'll then bake the cinnamon buns for 15 minutes, after which we'll check on them and then bake them for an additional 3 to 5 minutes. You'll know they're done once you've inserted a toothpick into the center and it comes out clean. Our cinnamon buns are in the oven and I'm starting to smell them. They smell so good. So while they finish baking, we're going to go ahead and make the glaze, which is totally optional. I honestly like them just as they are, but the glaze does give it a nice touch and it makes it prettier. So I have all of my ingredients for the glaze in a bowl and I'm just going to mix them up. Now I'm just making a small amount of glaze. If you want more glaze on your cinnamon buns, just double the recipe for the glaze. Here we have our finished cinnamon buns. We had a little bit of a spillover, but it's all good. We'll just go ahead and let them cool now, and then we'll go ahead and drizzle on the glaze. They've been cooling for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and drizzle on that glaze. I went ahead and popped them out of the muffin tin. Now let's go ahead and give it a wee taste. These sourdough cinnamon buns are warm, ooey gooey, and so delicious. I hope you guys love this recipe. And thank you guys for watching. If you happen to like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. Bye guys!